your guide to the truth. thenewamericanmedia.com.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way Galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to another episode of Agree to Disagree here on the TNAM Radio Network. My name is Brian Engelman. I am your host, as I have been for almost the past 5 years. Goodness gracious, half a decade. Jeez. Hey, did you win the Powerball? Or do you still have to go into work? Sorry about that. I don't know. Hey, are we allowed to dream from time to time? Well, you know, this country, it's one of those places where you gotta work hard to make it. Occasionally some people get lucky, but really, this experience sure seems like the intention is working hard. The motivation, the key, the secret, the owner's manual says you gotta work really hard. And you got a lot of roadblocks from time to time. You know what? You just gotta get through them. You gotta go around them. You gotta jump over them, tunnel under them, plow through them, whatever the case may be. And hey, that's what we've been doing here at the New American Media. Thanks for checking us out. I want you to check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. On the right-hand side are three things. One says TNAM Radio. That's where you click play to listen live. We also tweet out and send out messages on Facebook when we go live. On Twitter, we're at American_media_. Underneath that, on our homepage, is the Facebook feed as well. Or you can do a search for The New American Media. And on YouTube, go to youtube.com/The New American Media. So, I don't know if you're watching the debates right now, but hey, we got a president. Well, we have a bunch of presidents. We have a bunch of potential presidents. Everybody wants to be president. Do any of them really think they can be? I don't know. My next guest, I would be very interested to see this candidate up on the debate stage. It'd be a trip. Adam Kokesh. On his Twitter feed it says, Freedom 2020. I plan to run for President of the United States in 2020 to peacefully dissolve the entire federal government in 4 years. Interesting concept. That might sound a little far-fetched to just totally dissolve the government, but is it? Is it really that far-fetched? Are the things that we're doing right now working so well that we should continue them? That's a question you gotta decide. It's a question you gotta decide in 2016. Is it one of those where, whatever you do, they win? Or do you go, well, it's the lesser of two evils. There's no way I can let XYZ candidate in, so I gotta vote for the other choice. Oh, you don't like Pepsi, so you're gonna vote Coke. Okay. I don't like Coke, so I'm gonna vote Pepsi. Oh. Let me guess, you don't like Burger King, so you're going to McDonald's. Okay. And there's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of... And I think that's at the core of this election right now. It's just that general feeling that things, no matter what you do, they're not going to get any better. And it's a tough place to find yourself. It's a disappointing place to find yourself, but it's also a rational place to find yourself. If you look at the facts, if you look at the data, if you look at the unfunded liabilities that our country's promising, if you look at what we're doing and not doing intentionally, it's getting harder and harder to defend this system. So I think what we'll do now is we'll bring in Adam Kokesh and we'll talk about it. Check out tomorrow's show. Gerald Celente is going to be on. I believe we're going to be live at 11:30 p.m. Pacific time. Check out our show from earlier in the week. Blake and Sean joined us. We were talking about Common Core. It was a good show. And also did a little bit of sports about the LA Rams coming back. Formerly the Cleveland Rams, if you weren't aware, back in the 30s, for 1 year. I do a Cleveland sports show, Indians, Cavs, and Browns, and Buckeyes. called the Unhappy Hour. So yeah, we did cover some sports, and we talked with Laura Eisenhower on Monday, and we talked with Larry Elder last Friday. So make sure you check out on YouTube all the archived content. We got a lot of shows. We encourage you to subscribe and leave your commentary there. So yeah, big things, fun stuff, and let's get right to this one with Adam Kokesh, shall we? Well, we shall if pressing the button will actually if it will actually call him like it usually does. There we go. I love being the producer. It's so fun. And the engineer and the host.
Hello?
Adam, it's Brian Engelman, and you're on Agree to Disagree Live. How you doing, sir?
Excellent. Thanks so much for having me on today.
Hey, man. I mean, I've been talking to you for how long now, and we do our in-person videos and our chit-chats off the air, and I've always said we're going to get you in and do a full and proper show one of these days, and today, January 14th, just so happens to be that day. So thank you for joining us. What are you up to? Well, what's the latest in the Adam Kokesh world? Where are you at, and what are you up to?
Well, we're actually in Phoenix, Arizona, in the parking lot of a post office, getting off our latest round of books, and it was very exciting day before yesterday to pick up our third printing in Los Angeles and put a few in storage there. We are now getting them out in the mail. We had a little 24-hour window for free books, so sorry if everybody missed it. You can order them on our store now at thefreedomline.com. And we are now on our way to make an offer on some land that we're going to buy and near Ashford, Arizona, and build a home.
Yeah, you know what? You and I were talking about that a little bit. Adam and I had a chance to catch up again. We talked at the Conscious Life Expo last year in Los Angeles, and then we caught Adam rolling through downtown LA last time. And you were mentioning that project. I don't know how much you want to explain on the project, or if your plan still involves Earthships or not. But at the time, a couple months ago, you were explaining looking to get some land and go off the grid. You care to explain some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's extremely important for people who wake up to, first the nature of government and then the nature of philosophy and ethics and how those apply to government or sort of don't apply to government,
right,
depending on how you want to look at that, and realize that freedom is really about achieving an ethical society. That is how we decide what is justice, what is right and wrong, and what determines whether or not we are truly free, is whether or not anybody is threatening us with anything that is unethical, that violates our rights or our property or our person. And so living as much as practically possible, or living really by the highest standard of ethics, is something that we should be always striving to. And we know that one of the things that's essential to building a free society, as it is happening all around us every day, is conscientious consumerism. You don't support businesses with people who are going to take that money and use it against you. If you have an option between buying, a product from Company A and Company B, and all those things being equal, if Company A is donating to certain politicians, or the owner of that business is donating to politicians, we're going to use that money against you, then, hey, the choice is pretty obvious, right? And that's just a really direct example, but there are lots of other examples, and really in the modern world, it's a much more complex equation than that, as we all strive to live well, not just the aesthetic life of a monk in a cave on a mountain.
Right.
And really, what we see now with the technology that's available to us is an opportunity in light of where we are with technology and society to revive the American dream. And for me right now, I've been living out of an RV trailer touring the country for the last year and a quarter or so, and now we're ready to park on some land and build a house. And it's not just that we're building our own house and taking charge of it that way, but when we do it from the ground up is an expression of our values, that where we get to make the more ethical choices, not just in where we live and how we live, but, and all of the consumer products that go into that lifestyle. And what we have planned, I'm so excited about, is something that, when I kind of knew in the back of my head that I was evolving towards something like this, to a more complete lifestyle, to one that was more ethical, more based on my values. And I went to the Earthship Academy in October and learned a lot about building off-grid, and inspired by that, I've come up with a design that you could say is Earthship inspired, but really is going to be the first sapioponic house, to my knowledge, ever built.
I need a definition of, what was that, sapioponic?
Sapioponic. All right. I'm gonna leave it like this. Okay, so most people know what hydroponics is.
Yes.
You flood the roots of a plant system to maximize water and nutrient delivery. And most people know what aquaponics is, and that you have fish, you put in fish food, the fish poop in the water, the bacteria and worm culture in your growing medium then converts that into what is readily available for plants to absorb, and you're growing fish and plants at the same time. So sapioponics, I'll just say, is taking it to the next level. It gets a little more complicated, but it is an incredibly exciting idea that came to me when I was at the Earthship Academy, of building a completely self-contained off-grid home that can support everyone living in it, essentially like a biodome where the only inputs are sunlight and for growing plants and for electricity, and water from rain collection, and from that you can support human life. And it needs this, once the system is running, it needs no other inputs other than those two things. So, right away, you're talking about checking out from the electric grid. That's easy, that's obvious. A lot of people are doing that with solar now. That's really awesome to see that, the economy is evolving, or I should say, the economics of solar itself are changing in such a way that more and more people are moving to that. And for homesteaders, it's kind of a no-brainer.
And the technology has improved. The economics of the technology. It was always a great idea, but for what it costs to put in, what it would require to power your house, it never made financial sense. But now,
right.
It's that theory with computers where every so often they double in processing power.
Moore's Law, yes.
Yes.
Exactly. And it's just like, when the Nintendo Entertainment System came out, it was really expensive. And then a couple of years later, competition, efficiency, and so on kicked in. Every new technology goes through a decreasing price curve over time. And solar is on a very big, long curve. And it's going to get, really, even in the next few years, so much more efficient. But we haven't quite hit that tipping point where anybody can easily make the switch and, for less than, a couple months electric bills. But, we're coming to that point. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but we are coming to the point where it becomes very feasible. The next major component is water collection. We're going to be off-grid for water, and if you recycle your water properly, it's not hard unless you live in the really, really dry desert. They do Earthships in Taos, New Mexico, where they get about 12.5 inches of rain per year. We're going to have about 20 where we are. So if you collect rain from your roof, I know it's crazy. And what's funny? This is important, and this is something that you need to do because government has made it illegal in some places. I know it sounds crazy, but they actually claim to own the rain falling from the sky in certain jurisdictions. It's a city law in some places. They don't let you collect rainwater.
I love that. I love that. You're onto something if the government's trying to tell you can't do it.
Yeah.
I've seen
even
those.
front yard gardens. So front yard gardens, are made illegal in a lot of municipalities. That's more of a, silly little zoning thing. But growing food, checking out of the mainstream food system where you're supporting government-sponsored corporations, where you're paying taxes. If you can engage in an interaction if you can eliminate the interactions in your life that require you to pay taxes, you can do that much less to support the government. So if you're independent for food and water and electricity and shelter, bam, to me, that's a really huge leap that a lot of people are excited to take now. And so when we spoke last, we were kind of getting ahead of ourselves. We were talking about
as people like you and I always do. That's a tendency you and I always have in people like us. We dream big.
See, this is a fun conversation because I can kind of brainstorm, and you just want to know what I'm up to, and not don't make me evangelize or ask me tough political questions. But the problem is when I get like this, I can't even finish my own freaking sentences. So where I was going with this was that we were getting ahead of ourselves talking about the Freedom Homestead Workshop. And in a sense, what I was thinking is, what do I want as a consumer? Well, I want the complete skill set of how do you make the leap from a mainstream lifestyle to a homestead lifestyle, where you have taken charge of your living situation. You may or may not have built your own home, but you didn't just walk into a prefab thing. You took charge of that and your food process and being off-grid for all of your essential life needs, and being the entrepreneur of your own happiness, because you've become the engineer of your own life. And as I was looking to make this leap, what I realized is there's a lot of stuff that I have to do first before I can pretend to have any basis of teaching anybody else anything or even bringing experts together. So we're going to be going through this in the next few months. If we're really successful, we might do one this summer. If not, we'll put it off. But what we want to start hosting annually or semi-annually are like a one-week workshops, the Freedom Homestead Workshop, where people can come and have all of their questions answered. And maybe they're not going to walk out of there with blueprints and a complete plan, but they can walk out of there with confidence that they too can make this leap. And I think this is a revival of the American dream, really. This is, and it's really cool that we were able to see this. My fiance Macy and I, as we traveled the country for this last year and a quarter that we've been on the road, all over America, seeing people doing this in different degrees, that we've been able to gather the confidence and the knowledge and the support. And obviously, it's a little easier for me when I have a fan base that I can call on for when we want to have a tire pounding party. Come on out, all the weed you can smoke, and pound some dirt in the tires for the weekend. Help us out with the big plastering part of the job, things like that. But my fiance and I were really confident now that we're going to be able to do this. To build this house, like if we get all the help we can need, we might finish it in 3 months. It's not very ambitious. I should say the other thing about the design that's really exciting with Sapioponics, it's an Earthship concept, is a south-facing greenhouse attached to your home that is a food production space and a thermal regulator. And so we're going to have complete independent food production with this as well. So just being able to do that now that we have this force. If we're finished in 3 months, we might do one this summer. It might take us a whole year. But, we've been living out of the trailer long enough that, hey, we park on the trailer, we live on the land, we get our labor for free because we're doing all the work ourselves. We're really excited to be going through this process. The other big thing I'm working on, just if you want to move on, is, the tour for this next year, and recently announced our plans for 2020. And so
well, I alluded to that.
Announcing in 2017.
Yeah, no. That's a whole separate topic. I want to bookend this and give that its proper amount of due. And in between wrapping this segment up and moving into, I kind of want to get an explanation of your book and your fireside tour of what you did for the people that kind of missed out on that, and kind of a recap of what you learned. But to bookend this here before we switch segments, and definitely we're going to talk about your 2020 run. Did you have a chance to spend time when you were out in Taos? Did you end up going over to the Phoenix, the double-decker, south-facing?
In fact, the design of the Sapioponic house could be described as a poor man's Phoenix. I think Mike Reynolds came up with that as a major experiment of a lot of over-engineered, overbuilt, over-art, project-type elements, and was able to come up with an incredible house. I've walked through it. It's some of the elements of what I've designed are specifically lifted from that design that he applied to the Phoenix. And what I think I'm doing in taking this to the next level is providing complete independent food production, as you would with the Phoenix, but with the most efficient Earthship construction methods, with a few additions of my own that make it way more efficient in terms of cost effectiveness. But I'll let you know what the budget is when we're done.
Yeah, exactly. Usually that's how every construction project starts. You can budget 30% of time overage and 30% of budget overage. But yeah, the cool thing about the Phoenix
This is really experimental, so that stuff doesn't even apply.
Yeah, and that's, you said, oh, sapioponics, and you're saying, oh yeah, I've designed. I go, oh man, because when I was out there in Taos, I was there like 2 months before I started the New American Media, coming up on 5 years now. It was right around Fukushima, for reference, and when Fukushima hit. But yeah, we were living in a place called the Hive, Housing for Interns, Volunteers, and Employees.
Yep.
And it was something that they totally screwed up. The owner he took an Earthship, and then he built this huge, coiled, weird, Fibonacci sequence, seashell-looking thing that spun around.
And it didn't
engineered
function for style and for art, and then
function.
The function failed.
Exactly. So they ended up selling it. They tried to turn it into what do they call it, the Angel's Nest, and they tried to turn it into like this retreat, this yoga thing, and they thought they were smarter than Mike Reynolds. And so like while we were there, it was just like that place was a walking reminder of don't mess with the design. So when you're telling me about your design, I'm very curious, and I'm cautiously optimistic for you.
If you want to get into the details, there are really only two major. Well, okay, there are a few minor architectural modifications and one single major conceptual modification that is the sapioponic system. And I have fail-safes for all of this. I mean, for every modification, there's like, well, it's a risk that it will lead to this. If it does that, here's how we alter it or compensate. But, the roof system for the simple survival is the ferro-cement shell. If you're somewhere that you can do vertical glass, basically what I'm doing is instead of having a big wooden carpentry, extravaganza greenhouse in the front of the simple survival, you just have that concrete shell keep going all the way to the front, and then you have bigger vertical glass. And if you have terrace planters going down, you can get it exactly 2 PDR high, which is patio door replacements. So it's not like that major of a leap, but with everything else, I'm really just taking his most efficient concepts and going the other way from the Hive with it, and not trying to do anything fancy, but making it as simple and straightforward.
So it's a tweak and a twist to say, well, that does a very good job. However, if you did this and this, it would actually take exactly what that is and maybe even give it a 15% boost in efficiency, perhaps, by removing. No, I totally get it. The cool thing for the people that don't know, we're talking shop a little bit here with Adam Kokesh. We really, it really is interesting when you talk with someone else who's been to the Earthship Academy and moved in over there for a while and learned from it. But we're talking about the Phoenix that Mike Reynolds built at the Greater World Earthship community outside of Taos, New Mexico, in the foothills of the Sangre de Cristos Mountains.
Google Earthship Phoenix images.
Oh yeah,
and you get a sense of the beauty of this house.
It's amazing, and even just something as simple as the cabinetry and the colors and the craftsmanship of the build in the kitchen. You could talk about the function of the greenhouse. You could talk about this. And there's layers and like different stepping stones. Then you go into the bathroom, and it's like a stained glass window from a 700-year-old Gothic style church, but it's made from sawed off Sky vodka bottles. And they pop in there like little shining gems. But no, the cool thing about the Phoenix, I got a chance to work with that every single day at lunchtime. Instead of lunch, I went over there. So I helped feed the chickens and grab some eggs, and kind of working with a 2-story indoor greenhouse, and it gets to negative 130 and negative 30 and 130. So in the wintertime,
it's still warm. There's still growing bananas inside.
Yeah, still bananas, and there's no electric bill. And it just blows your mind away. You're freezing your bones off, and you walk into this place and you're sweating, and you go, man, do they have the heat cranked to? Oh, there's no heat. They were just smart in how they built this. And they got fish rolling through here in a pond. And no, I mean, it's a very inspiring way to live. And like you said, a conscientious consumer, you vote with your dollars. If you're going to have a home and you're going to put roots down somewhere, I don't know, does it make financial sense to just not pay $170 every whatever term when your electric bill comes in, and here's your water bill? Well, how about I bury some cisterns, I filter the water, and I keep it, and I don't need a water bill. How about I have a leach field for my sewage, and I don't need to pay for, DWP type stuff. So, it's just a fascinating way to do things. And my final question on Earthships, and we can move on. Like I said, I haven't been there in 4.5 years, but was there any progress on the Eve build that they were working on right up there by the shop and by the tourist center?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, they're building the double greenhouse onto it now, and I got to see Mike's plans. And like you see, I see stuff like that, and I go, it's so inefficient. You've got all these brilliant ideas, and you're imposing all of these. But he's experimenting, and I think that's the spirit of Earthships, is that every build is an experiment in something right now, and unless you're just saying, let me get a carbon copy of that guy's house, which is totally cool too. There are definitely plenty of those going up now. But for me, this is something I've been working on. I mean, even well before I went to the academy, and I've been studying since I started geeking out on the idea of homesteading. I've been studying alternative architecture. I've been reading books on, cob, on straw bale, on cordwood, underground, packed earth bag, like everything. And I've read enough about all of those techniques that if you put me in front of a pile of supplies, I could make any of those houses happen. Okay, maybe I need to watch a few YouTube videos to get all the way through it. But, I got enough of a sense of the process, and I did a lot of design and experiment, just sketching. And I've been thinking about this and designing this house for, months and months and months. And I went through a period of just making drawings, and now, then I've stepped away from the drawings for the last 2 months, and I'm still refining the design in my head. And now I'm ready to sit back down and redo the drawings right before we go to build, send them to a few people to review. But like these are going to be more complete drawings than most of the drawings that Earthships have been built from.
Right.
And I've got there's a lot of little innovations, little things that I think can be done more efficiently. Maybe it's just personal stuff to meet my needs that I think are going to be more efficient. But I'm really excited about the design, and I've got it down to, really down to almost every little detail in the entire house in my head. So I'm so excited to finally, like since I got my YouTube channel well established, and with the book out and the success of the book, I've got enough residuals to live off of and build slow if I have to just buy a couple $1,000 worth of building supplies a month at a time. I don't think it's going to be quite that slow, but man, this is it. I am enjoying my retirement. This is the American dream, man. Retire at 29. I just turned 29. I'm about to turn 29 for the 6th time. So, this is it, man. I'm living the dream. I'm loving it. I have a beautiful, amazing fiance who, helps drive everywhere and, with everything, and is totally down for the cause, and now we're ready to make our little paradise.
Yeah, the funny thing about it is that thoughts of freedom and libertarian leanings will all take you to the same places. All roads lead to Rome. When you start going down the rabbit hole of what could collapse, whether it's, the electrical grid, or you talk about, your food supply or your water supply, or what if this was choked off, or what if there was a recall here, and what if, you start thinking about all these things, and you just go, well, why would I want to be attached to something that's dependent on something outside of me? That, in fact, that's why go ahead.
Yeah, that's there's two sides to this. I want to point this out, that like either one, whatever hooks you is compelling enough. If it's you want to be independent so you're more secure, fine. Because there are a lot of people who live off grid who are technically less food secure than someone who lives right next door to a convenience store. Your crops go bad. You don't have tons of backup. You don't have an infinite store of food. Okay, if you're really good, you have plenty of stored food. You have really reliable food production. You have backups and so on and so forth. And, you can match food security with the guy who lives next to the convenience store. And the difference is not just that if one of these systems collapses, you're totally fine. But, gee, would you want nothing but home-produced, organic, natural food, or would you want the crap that they're selling at the convenience store? And you can make the case for efficiency and say, well, I want my food prepared for me. I want to stick it in the microwave and eat it. And I totally get that argument. I'm exactly the same way. Well, guess what? I'm going to be walking through a garden where I can just, in the middle of my house, where I can just pick off all the food that I want right there and eat it. We have, we're going to be we're going to have chickens and eggs and whatever other animals that we want on the property. And if you get to the point where you can make that efficient, unless you want to live like right next to a grocery store, you can produce that much better food and prepare it and eat it in the time it takes you to get to the store and back. So like just checking out of the system isn't about independence, but like with electricity. It's not like, hey, the grid might go down, I want to have solar as a backup. It's like, no, I don't want to pay to a government corporation all this money every single month that feeds who knows what energy system is going to produce this electricity, what infrastructure, is causing what harm to what people on the way it's getting to me, when I can say, no, I got this, I'm done, this is independent, and I'm totally ethical in my production here. So for some people, making the leap doesn't have to be completely doing everything yourself, but it should be having everything deliberate and conscientious yourself, so that, maybe you decide you don't want to do food production. Cool. You're going to go to a farmer's market instead of the grocery store. You're going to have or be part of a food co-op, supporting local producers. You're going to get, organic stuff in bulk locally. You're going to figure out what is the, maximum efficiency for you to get what you want as ethically as possible. And just what people are developing now, and the internet is so crucial for this, for people to see how easy it is and to connect, more and more people are making a leap. And it's taking out all of the shift in government stuff, taking out all of the like space exploration and high tech stuff, just in the kind of like lifestyle social shifts that we see going on. Man, is it an exciting time to be alive or what?
Yeah, and I've wondered that too. Like, what would Thomas Paine and Benjamin Franklin be doing on Twitter if they were around right now? Like, how amazing would they think this time? We've grown up here and we experience it, we live it, and we get a little complacent and like, oh man, I'm so sick of paying my monthly cell phone bill to have access to all the world's information in the palm of my hand. We're so spoiled on one side, but at the same time, we're kind of also going for that return to basics. And you're right. Whether you think you want to be preparing for a doomsday scenario, or you just want to be a conscientious consumer with your dollars and your effort, either way, doing something that gets you a little more removed from a horrible system is a good thing. And whether you're completely self-reliant, or whether you're 80% self-reliant, 50% self-reliant, 25%. People in Taos, New Mexico have to pay the guys to come in with their big tanker trucks and fill up their cisterns because they don't get any water. But they get so much sun they can grow a ton of food.
Not a properly designed Earthship in Taos.
I've stayed in a few of them, and most of them said, well, we can get by kind of, but you know what? Sometimes it's dry for a couple months, and we got to actually get these things filled up. But that's the point. You go to a place where it's rainy, but you're not going to get as much sun, which means you're not going to get as much juice.
And so that was an important consideration for me in the overall geography, choosing Ash Fork, Arizona. It's not just that we're 6 hours from LA, 3 hours from Vegas, 2 hours from Phoenix, an hour from Flagstaff, and we have, a small town of Williams 30 minutes away, 20 minutes away, but also that it's a much more hospitable environment than Taos. And I mean, I get it, it's a spiritual place, it's a nice place to live, it's beautiful, but man, Taos is really, really harsh. If you want to live somewhere like that, it's going to cost you a little bit more. And I think one of the things that we can do with the technologies that Mike has developed there, I don't know, maybe techniques is a better word for it, apply them to broader geographical climates, as he's already doing, to be fair,
Yeah.
And really, I think there's a huge gap right now, and it's almost sad to see that Mike has this technology in Earthships, and it's not, I mean, it is now at the point where he's got blueprints that he can hand to any contractor and say, here's how you build this house, do it.
Yeah.
And it works, and it's not hard. and you can get it down to it can fit, it can meet any building codes, it can, meet any contractor's criteria, insurance, blah, blah, blah. You can meet all of that stuff, and yet you see new housing developments of stick frame homes on the grid going up that are way more expensive to maintain on a daily basis and on a yearly basis, and keep from becoming decrepit. When you build an Earthship, it's like almost like a bunker that lasts forever.
Well, you literally dig it into the side of, you dig down to get that tap into that geothermal temperature, and so you dig it down enough and you back it into some earth, and you are kind of digging your own bunker. It's meant to last for a long time, and it's way different. Like you said, the sticks in the just building with lumber. I love when Mike just says, if you came to us today and said, all right, I want to build a home, a place where you're supposed to live. Now, I want to build it out of a material that's mostly flammable. By chopping down these things, you're taking away their ability to produce oxygen. They're prone to getting termites. You can have wood rot when you get a little bit of water on them.
It warps. It's hard to work with.
Exactly. They go,
energy intensive. Like,
it's the last thing we would choose. If we had another option.
We've industrialized building with wood when historically building with earth has been far more effective and efficient.
Right.
There are really relatively few situations where building with wood has an advantage over earth, and one of those advantages is in the modern world where government subsidizes so much of the construction industry and it's all corporatized. But that's not a good reason.
Right.
So I'm hoping that the design that I'm working on, and as a proof of concept, we're going to make a big video, like a 2-hour video, from start to finish, building this house. And it's going to start with me going, hey guys, this is Adam. I have no construction experience, but I'm pretty handy, and here's the design. This is either going to be a how-to video or a how-not-to video. And all the drawings, everything about this is going to be totally open source. And, maybe we create one more model that someone else could put to use, could replicate if that's what they want. Maybe someone else wants to make this leap and wants exactly what I want, but doesn't want to think about the architectural stuff and wants to duplicate my model. Well, that's going to be there for them. And I hope that there are more people who are inspired by what's going on right now. And if they go look at Earthships and they study all the whole world of alternative housing, they're inspired to try something new for themselves. It's based on stepping out of the norm to meet their own needs more effectively and maybe come up with something that is going. I mean, there's a revolution in housing coming, in the next 10 to 20 years, and it needs leaders. It needs people who are not just, the architects and the engineers and the builders, but the owner builders, the people who are going to live in these houses, the people who want to, who understand that, a different house entails a different kind of lifestyle, and the way your house dictates your lifestyle. And if you live in a modern stick frame home, there are a lot of parts of your lifestyle that are dictated by that. And if you want to live a life based on different values, you want to help move humanity forward, you want to help us all live more in line with our values, you have this incredible opportunity now to be a part of this incredible process. And, the tiny house movement is a part of this.
Right.
Earthships are a part of this. The libertarian segment of the homesteading movement is a part of this. The unschooling movement is a part of this. People gardening at home are a part of this. Everybody who is applying technology and greater awareness to live more conscientiously is a part of it. And everyone who is willing to live differently and share a part of that gets to be a leader in this, gets to, at least, even if it's by setting a bad example of how not to do something, you get to be a leader in this amazing dance forward.
Oh, Adam, it's not like you've done that before, like at the Capitol or anything. You've never given examples of things you shouldn't do, but we'll save that for another chat, my friend. We're talking with Adam Kokesh here, and let's make the shift here. As much as I could probably do another 7 hours, I ended up doing a show. I don't know if you've met Justin King yet. He's with the Fifth Column. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. I'm sure you'll probably end up crossing paths with him. But yeah, we ended up doing a show the other day, and we were probably intending to talk about politics, geopolitics specifically, because they have a global presence out there. And we ended up talking for 2.5 hours about bugging out and getting just preparedness, I guess is the easiest way to say it. And it just went off the rails. So I'm going to steer this one back here, because last time I ran into you, we were downtown, and you were doing your tour. You were talking about your book, Freedom. You were talking about, tell us about what you did with that. Tell us about your book, the concept of it, where people can get it, of course. But tell us about what you did for, you said it was 1.5 years you were on the road, you and Macy. Tell us about all that.
Well, about 1.25 years now.
Okay.
I released the book Independence Day year before last, and I started writing it the year before that when I was in jail. And the reason was that I looked around and I saw,
Wait, hold on. We can't skim past that. When I was in jail, give us the cliff notes of that for the people that... By the way, when I'm in the clink... Okay.
For making a YouTube video, loading a shotgun at Freedom, the ironically named Freedom Plaza, 2 blocks from the White House, Independence Day. Was it 2013 now? Wow. Yeah, 2013. And I got a lot of time to meditate and work on, my deeper thoughts and my philosophy and do some yoga. I definitely enjoyed my government-induced, taxpayer-funded spiritual retreat. And I used the time to, in part, deepen my understanding of the movement and achieving a free society. And I meditated on that a lot. And I realized a lot of things about the conversion process. And I've been kind of on this kick for a while, but obviously if we want to create a free society, we need more people who believe in freedom. We need to convert more people to libertarianism or voluntarism or the freedom philosophy, specifically whatever label you want to attach to that or describe that with. And I think we need to be really honest about what we are as a movement. We see that, this isn't like I'm right, you're wrong, let's debate, zero-sum game like a normal political message, which is let's point the guns of government at the people that I want them pointed at. And what we're talking about is not about winning votes or winning debates or winning arguments. What we're talking about, in order to make the shift in society that we advocate happen, is win converts. And we know what this means inherently, and I think we're kind of afraid to talk about it because this is a philosophy movement, an ethics movement, a morals movement. It's not a political movement. It's the anti-political movement. And to be truly objective looking at this, it behaves a lot more like a religious movement. And what we do when we convert, and people talk about this, and this is what I ask people, when we travel the country, how did you become a libertarian, or how did you embrace the message of freedom? Or more generally, I like to say, what woke you up, and what was your process of raising your awareness? And it really is converting to a different way of thinking for yourself. And the most relevant application of that to our time is how we relate to authority and its institutionalization in the form of government, and how we move past this to a more ethical society. So I wrote the book to be the most efficient conversion tool. And I've talked to, I'm pretty confident saying at this point at the end of the tour, I have the best body of anecdotal data of people in our movement and how they wake up and how they become free thinkers. And it doesn't happen, I know this might come as a shock to you, it doesn't happen from getting yelled at a bar.
Although I did watch that video. I did watch that video of you at the bottom of the stairs getting yelled at. That was a great video, by the way. Tell people, go ahead. That was awesome.
Well, that was definitely the opposite of argument. If people want to check that out, that's would-be bullied gets Kokeshed, Nonviolent Communication in Action. It's on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Adam Kokesh. You can find all that through thefreedomline.com.
Yeah, you
So,
spun that masterfully. That was the I don't know, ancient Eastern hand-to-hand grappling art of using somebody's momentum and inertia against themselves. They're
yeah,
lunging, and you
kind
just
of,
dance
yeah,
with them.
sure. Yeah, it was a kind of intellectual kung fu where you
Exactly.
take their momentum and it wasn't turning it on them, but it was the most important thing about nonviolent communication is how you listening empathetically and listening actively for people's needs and feelings when someone is angry. Now, how do you address that? Because no one is converted in Facebook flame wars. No one cares about your clever memes that get 1,000 shares and 1,000,000 likes. Those do not change how people think, and people similarly will not be converted more effectively because you're reading more books about monetary policy. The state will not end a day sooner because you have some esoteric knowledge about monetary theory or how government works or economics. No, the state will end sooner because we who care about freedom learn how to talk to the people around us about what we care about. And this is what my message has been. This whole tour is really encouraging people to connect with their families and their friends and their coworkers and their communities and people around them, because we get afraid to do that. We've been almost bullied, into fear of talking about politics or religion, and the establishment loves. Oh yeah, you don't even talk about what we're doing. We're just going to keep going, and the momentum of the establishment will continue, and we'll just keep ripping everybody off. So getting to change the conversation, that's what really does it. So my challenge to people on the tour was, read this book, and if it's not the easiest way for you to share the message with someone else, then find what is for yourself and do that. Because I guarantee you that is how you will provide the most value to the world, to the people around you, and that is how you will find the most satisfaction in your activism. Because there's nothing, and I know this, oh man, do I know this, there is nothing like people coming to you and saying, you know what, you woke me up, you changed my thinking, you freed my mind. It is the best feeling in the world to know that you have had that impact on someone. So the book, it's 100 pages. I was able to do a survey in my head and partly in my jail cell of all the great books that people sent me.
Wait, hold on. Hold on. Was this survey in the jail? Was it like scratched on the wall and like four dashes and a diagonal?
The survey here is a little more metaphorical, but a survey of the literature,
all right,
of all of the books that have been written to attempt to do this, to be a comprehensive manifesto. And I basically ripped off the best elements of all of them. For a new liberty, liberty defined, ethics of liberty, a new libertarian manifesto, economics in one lesson. I'm skipping so many great ones. The Law by Bastiat, Anatomy of the State. So, there's some authors that stand out in having contributed to this. Spooner, Rand, Rothbard, Mises, Paul, Molyneux, Woods. I mean, the list goes on and on. Konkin, I'm missing so many great authors. But what none of them had done is said simply, and maybe some of them had done this, but certainly not in the modern age, how do I create the easiest way for someone to get a comprehensive sense of this message enough that they can say, I can embrace this? Or I need to do a little more research, but I can figure this out and I can embrace this. Or that's plenty for me. I got it.
Right.
And I can confidently say, freedom is the answer. What's the question? As Ernie Hancock would say. And so we made it 100 pages. It's in short, easy to digest sections, 1 to 2 pages each. It's forward-looking. It describes the interaction of technology and statism, how the internet is having an effect in helping us move past statism, how people can get involved, how people can apply this to their own lives to be more free personally, to achieve emotional freedom, and a history of how we got here. And all of that in 100 pages. It's free on the tour. When we tour, we're giving books away. We gave books away on the tour, about 5,000. We now are in our third printing. We've got 25,000 out there. And we're going to be taking 25,000 books with us on the road for this next tour. The schedule is up at thefreedomline.com/calendar. But more importantly, get it for free online now. It's a free audiobook. It's free as a PDF. It's free as plain text. We've put it out in every digital format possible. The Android app is a surprise success. We've had 500,000 downloads of that now. Somewhere between, it's hard to say, but 1.4, 1.5 million downloads total. Really exciting to see how this is taking off, how it's building, and how people are. I mean, I'm not claiming any kind of stroke of genius here. The one idea was, hey, let's make this book. I did the job. I got it done. I got a lot of help. I had 300 people help edit this. And now that we have the book out there, it is everything I wanted it to be. It is being received exactly as I had hoped. And there has been the only criticism I've ever seen of the book is from people who, for ideological reasons are statists who still have that attachment to government violence. There have been a few sort of intellectual critiques that aren't new of the book, but of the message in general that we've heard before. But the book is the truth. It's 100 pages of raw truth in an intense, condensed form that if you are any kind of mainstream statist will make you do a 180. Even if you don't embrace it entirely, it's that powerful. It does that. I set out to write the ultimate conversion tool. I hope that someone comes up with something better tomorrow. But right now, I'm pretty sure this is the best we've got. And I know that for different people in different situations, there are different things. Maybe some people you want to, visual learners or whatever, you want to show them my YouTube channel first to get them engaged. We get emails every week from people who say, dude, I've been binge watching your videos for the last week and I'm on board. Where do I sign up?
Isn't it weird when you become a Netflix channel that people binge watch? When you start hearing that, that's an interesting moment in time where you enter that realm where people are binge watching your content. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, it's been 8 long years of activism building up that body of work, but it's there, and we get just from our old videos, we get about 1 million views a month now.
Oh, that's awesome. No, you were talking about combining some of the elements of some of your favorite books over the years, and they say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And I know it was Glenn Beck. He came out with Common Sense. He kind of rebooted Common Sense in a modern way to kind of take some of those concepts and bring it back when the Tea Party was starting, and read that and it's just like, oh, okay, it's like a reimagining and a rewording, but it's just polishing it up and putting new actors in the same mood. You're rebooting it and you're just giving it a different opportunity to reach a new audience, which is usually good. My question about the book, would it have happened if you didn't spend that time in jail? Do you think that was the catalyst you needed, or do you think it might have came out anyway?
It might have happened eventually, but it would have taken me a few more years, and I think I might not have. There's something about. No, I mean that's a very good question, because I do think I would have come up with this eventually. I think I was on the path intellectually to figure this out, but I think going to jail accelerated this for two ways. One was that it forced me to slow down,
right,
and I haven't been doing any regular media production since we released the book. When I got out of jail, I was like, yeah, we're going to restart the podcast. We're going to do 3 hours a day live. We're going to do 10 YouTube videos a day. And we're going to be on all the social media. And I'm going to have a huge voice in the conversation. And during that time, I was finishing up the book. And then the book came out. I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. I got to focus on the book. And if we bring back the media production again, and we're looking to, when the house is done or the next tour is done. So like 4 to 10 months, we're going to be bringing back a daily podcast, but my focus has really shifted, and I gained a lot of presence of mind during this time. And when I was in jail, the other thing is that it's when you're behind a computer, it's really easy when you turn away from that computer screen to step into a different world mentally and go like, okay, and now I'm not looking at all the evil of the world that governments are doing throughout all the different wars and police state and blah, 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 blah. But now I'm back in my comfortable little home, and all that's something else. It's all somewhere else.
Now you have a basketball game to watch, or you got to go to the grocery store, then you just enter your normal world again.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're in jail, you don't have that option, you know? And my activism has always been dancing around the feet of the dragon, so to speak. And, you know, sometimes you step on the dragon's tail, and sometimes he steps on you a little bit. And, you know, when you're in that situation, the violence of the state is right in your face on a daily basis. You know, a gray metal sliding door that goes clink, and then that's it for your day. You're in a quiet cell by yourself. And I was in solitary for 2 months, you know. That
on top of it, you had the solitary. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not Shawshank Redemption.
That's exactly where I was going with that. Like, that's my experience with solitary.
That's what I thought. Yeah, you hear solitary confinement, you go, okay, so dark room, hole in the floor, bread and water, under the slot.
Throw him in the hole. No. Throw him in the hole.
No, see, for me it was for my own protection. It wasn't punitive. I didn't do anything in jail, you know, to deserve solitary. It was because I had a high-profile case. So they, you know, I got, you know, 3 regular meals a day. I got mail. I got to shower 2 or 3 times a week. You know, that's a fun process. But anyway, they put you in shackles and march you 20 feet down the hall and then repeat the whole process in reverse. It's intense.
Wow.
But no, I mean, it's not like, it's not psychological torture, desolation like that. It's not nearly that
sleep
bad.
deprivation and all these crazy things. Not necessarily. It's just, it's pretty horrible. It's just something you gotta count the minutes and the hours and the days down and deal with.
Yeah. So what I really confronted in a deeper psychological sense in jail was there's sort of a convergence of 2 motivators, and one is, you know, the first thing that we get caught up with when we wake up as activists is the negativity of, oh crap, I got to do this now before somebody else dies. I got to do this. This is what's right. This has to happen. And you get obsessed with it and you burn out. And you get if you allow yourself to, you know, only be motivated by that kind of negativity, it's very hard to be any kind of successful activist long term. And the other one is then the positive of, I want to provide the maximum value for the world. I'm not going to solve everybody's problems tomorrow. There will always be some injustice. There will always be something to improve. And so what I've settled on is you know, the balanced guideline for myself is that I want to use my life to provide the maximum value for humanity. To me, that's my highest calling. And in absolute capitalistic selfishness, how do I provide the maximum value to other people? Because it serves the highest view in my mind of what humanity can be. I don't want a pile of money for me and my family. That's petty and insignificant. No, I want to bend the world to my image, and I enjoy providing that value that way. And I know that when I do that, I'm most likely to have my needs most consistently taken care of to the extent that I need them to by others. So I see this incredible opportunity as we are right now on the precipice of a major paradigm shift for humanity to accelerate that. And part of me is really tortured. You know, I'm a combat vet, and I've seen people die. You know, I've seen police violence up close and personal. And I know that every day that the state doesn't exist, every day sooner that the state ends is one less day of war, and one less day of the police state, and one less day of the regulatory state, and the theft and the ripoff and the destitution and the pain and the suffering caused by government. And the best thing that I can do to make the state end as soon as possible is to be happy and take care of myself so that I can provide the most value to others. So I go through periods where I might seem manic because I know that there are times when trade-offs provide more value, working harder, working longer nights, putting in the time, obsessing over certain things, doing the research, whatever it takes. But overall, we have to see this in a positive light, that this is how we move humanity forward. This is how we provide value for ourselves and each other in the most beautiful, meaningful, passionate way. And that experience in jail certainly made that a lot more poignant and relevant for me, and made me a lot more conscientious of it in directing my own efforts and my activism now.
Yeah, it's all about the balance. I was having a similar conversation with Laura Eisenhower a couple days ago about that. You know, when you're an empath and when you're working and you're trying to do things to stop more bad things from happening, you know, and it's something that's, I won't say it's unique to people in, I don't know whether you call it activism or social media or, you know, alternative news, whatever you call it. People that are driven this way, it can really burn you out. And the balance between having that driving desire to help, you know, the people around you, the people in a country that you're never going to meet. It's just that it's that push to help. It can burn you out real quick when the first 5 stories on your social media feed are about horrible things that are happening. You know, you want to develop an opinion on it, and you want to comment out on it. You want to kind of shed light on what's happening and try to help. But, you know, unfortunately, there are a lot of things that we can't help in this world. And it really is just finding that balance between getting through and pushing forward and finding that you don't have to be everything to everybody. What was it? You can be some things to all men, you can be all things to some men, but you cannot be all things to all men. And I think it was Lincoln that said that. I'll attribute it to him either way. But it's very true, and I find it fascinating watching other people push for that balance when you know where they're being pulled. You know the enticements for just trying to get at people's time and trying to make it all work. It's a very common thing we all have to sort out. Adam, is what I'm getting at. I wanted.
One of the cool things is when you get that emotional balance. Maybe balance isn't the right word, because I think balance is even imposing some kind of standard of maybe neutrality based on some external measurement. I would describe it as emotional freedom. And what that means is that your emotions serve your will and your desire. And what we've been trained to do, and this is in the violent communication, by the way, the one book I recommend on par with our own is Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. It's how to do mental Jedi tricks on people. And when you get this emotional freedom, it is that you free yourself from all of this conditioning that has led you to subvert your own will, which is to be happy, which is to explore and to love and enjoy this experience of life, and instead be miserable because of the expectations of others, the impositions of others, or the temptations of our own negative emotions. And when you have this discipline, this emotional freedom, your emotions serve you instead of control you. And then when you communicate this message to people, it's from an entirely different perspective. And I'm really guilty of, in the past, having communicated from a place of ineffective emotions where you're communicating anger and
right.
despair and pain. And it's not attractive. It doesn't get people doing positive things to move humanity forward. And it is really my perspective is I've been on a very public journey of personal development over the last 8 years of activism, and learning the non-aggression principle was maybe the most critical turning point. But since then, I've been able to apply my methodology, my way of thinking, and always improving and always getting better to come to this much deeper level of I don't know, maybe personal understanding, self-awareness. Some people would call it just maturity or growth or even spiritual awareness. But, there's so much more for us to discover if we adopt that perspective of humility and allow ourselves to question ourselves and to always grow and always improve.
And what's the name of that book again?
Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg, and Freedom by Adam Kokesh. It's free at thefreedomline.com.
Of course.
I don't know which one you're talking about there, but just
of course we gotta plug Freedom by Adam Kokesh. No, it was the Marshall Rosenberg. What's it called? Nonviolent. What is it?
Nonviolent communication. Yep.
There we go.
It is single. I mean, after freedom, read that.
Yeah, and no, I love that. When I ask, hey, what? By the way, Adam, what band are you listening to? Is there any music on heavy rotation right now that people should check out?
Right now, it's "Medicine for the People." Was the last thing we had on our playlist on my fiance's phone that we were listening to while driving.
Nice.
Michael Franti too. I've been doing some IVAW Day flashbacks.
Yeah, people have been listening to a lot of Motorhead and Bowie over the past couple weeks. You know, things tend to ebb and flow, as it were. But no, let me ask you the final question before I kind of let you explain why you're running for president in 2020 and explain what that's all about. What was the toughest part of being out on the road for a year and a quarter? What was the most challenging part of that? Because we all know that it would be different to uproot, and you're always on the road, you're driving, maybe it's not the most comfortable bed, maybe things pop up, but for you, what was in your experience, what was the most challenging or difficult part of just jumping up and hitting the road?
Just that jumping up and hitting the road part. Everything else was easy.
Oh, just the initial step. The initial leap.
Making that commitment. I mean, I loved the experience. It was awesome. We had a great time.
And what was the most surprising or rewarding moment on the road?
Oh, I don't think there was a single moment. I mean, I got engaged. That's definitely a standout.
Hey, that's a good one. That's a good one. Absolutely.
Not quite. Yeah, not exactly integral to the tour itself, but definitely the best moment on the tour for me. But in the tour itself, it's just connecting with people all over the country, and getting a sense of convergence, that we're all evolving towards the same awareness, and people are figuring things out, and that we're all in this process together. That feels really cool when you hear people saying, like, you see this pattern, like when you've talked to as many people as I have about how they wake up, there are patterns in it, and in a way, like when I go to, I hate to say this because it's going to sound kind of negative, but when I go to gatherings of free thinkers, the conversations, to me, like most people, that's their great time to indulge in these ideas and talk about things and bounce things back and forth and whatever. And I'm in it full time, and I've heard so many of them when I'll eavesdrop on some of these conversations, and they're just so predictable, and that sounds negative, but I mean it in a really good way. That if someone like me can travel the country and talk to so many people to the point where, like, I can sit in a conversation and know exactly, like, how this back and forth is going to go and how this is going to play out and how people are feeling, then it's a sign that, that there are patterns in the universe. There are ways that things are coming together beyond our control as forces of nature, as part of the evolution of intelligence and awareness and consciousness and humanity itself. And I feel that now. And to be able to sort of put your brain out, I don't want to say put your hand out, but like, you can sort of put your mental attentiveness out, your conscientiousness of all of these things, and then you feel like, you literally feel like, like a hand reaching out in the darkness, feeling the shape of something. If you spend enough time with your mind, feeling around, gathering data, getting a sense of where people are moving and progressing and raising their awareness, you can feel the shape of things to come. You can feel the shape of things as they move. You can feel the direction that things are going, and put your mind on the pulse of humanity itself. That I have been fortunate enough to be able to do that to any degree has got to be the most amazing part of my life.
And that was a nice way to say, well, I got engaged, but that's not really the answer you might have been looking for. And then you went on to describe that we're all kind of like molecules on this planet, and we're all experiencing each other. It almost turned into like a Bill Hicks or a no. I feel the same way. The longer I live, Adam, the more I'm just kind of starting to understand that maybe the reason why I get upset by, some unjustified police killing somewhere USA, or by some dictator slaughtering, or ISIS killing 75 people, maybe part of that feeling is because that's also a part of me. Like that isn't my pain, but it is my pain. And that's at least my interpretation of how you were coming at that thought you just kind of put out there about feeling the shape of things, things to come, and the pulse of humanity itself. I'm guessing, I don't want to put words in your mouth here, but then kind of getting an idea of the pulse of humanity and getting a concept of what is to come. Did this make you more optimistic than you have been? Do you think this is going to work out in the good guy's favor at the end of the day?
I don't really see it in those terms. I mean, humanity marches on. We dance forward, and if a meteor strikes, and wipes us all out, hey, fun while it lasted, right? You're not going to sweat those possibilities, but yeah, what I feel is like a beautiful, I don't want to say a living organism, because that makes it seem like a collectivist into a single thing. I don't want to say that like we're all just this one animal with the same heartbeat, or make kind of silly metaphors like that, but you get a sense of the totality of life on Earth and what it is doing, and what a beautiful thing it is, and how it's progressing. And it's just, living, it kind of makes you want to appreciate living in the moment more. It almost doesn't matter where it's going. But you know what? Hey, I had this on my schedule for an hour, and I got some people waiting for me right now. So I do have to wrap up, but
well, my last question was just about Freedom 2020. I see this up here, and we're going to have plenty of time in 4 years to go over it, so I just kind of wanted you to give a brief update. So, take it and wrap it up how you want, Adam.
Sure. Well, the idea occurred to me when I started thinking about how do we apply this philosophy of freedom to take practical steps to address the modern institution of government. And the answer is actually extremely simple, and this is described in Freedom as localization, and there's a section by that title, which describes how you take governments apart from the top down. You don't want a revolution. You want an evolution. You want a gradual change. You want sustainable change. You want change that's not going to have a backlash or a power vacuum or pull the rug out from underneath people. So localization addresses all of the challenges of how we would convert to a completely nonviolent society. In the United States, this is the thing the single most thing I am patriotic about, is that we are in a position here to once again lead humanity forward in the quest for freedom, as the American Revolution was a step from monarchy to democratic republics, perhaps, however you want to describe that. It was a major leap forward. And because of the system that produced, of the Constitution and the allegedly independent 50 states and counties and city governments within that, we are in a position to localize and show the world the benefits of reversing this trend of concentrating power through modern bureaucratic governments in the statist paradigm. And we take governments apart from the top down in the United States by first simply eliminating the entire United States federal government. You could call that revolutionary, but we don't even have to change the statist paradigm to achieve that. If you're a conservative or a liberal, you stand to benefit from this too. It doesn't matter. If you're going to be governed, wouldn't you rather be governed by someone closer to you? I mean, hey, the federal government can protect you from invasion, perhaps, but what's the problem with being invaded? Somebody far away from you is going to govern you. Oh, crap. That's what we have right now. So the way we end this state of remote foreign control through government is we can eliminate the federal government, we get down, we turn all of its functions over to state governments. There's not a single thing that the federal government is doing that state governments cannot do better, or I should say perhaps screw up worse than the federal government is screwing it up. So this was several years ago, and I said, well, hey, I might be in a position, I'm a decent-looking white male with straight teeth and good hair who can put on a tie and put sentences together. I might be in a position to represent this message someday. And I mentioned it, I think, for the first time in 2012, perhaps 4 years ago from today even, and it's just been an idea that I've been sort of kicking around in the back of my mind and developing over time. And now, I see that it's a real opportunity that's worth building towards. I've talked about it briefly on several interviews, and just recently when my one of my fans who was parking AdamKokesh.com gave me the website, I decided to put up just a little blurb there that says we plan to run for president in 2020 and hope to announce summer 2017, still plenty in advance, and that the most effective thing people can do right now to make this possible is share the message of freedom, get people to read the book, give people hope that we can defeat the problems that we're facing with localization. And the response has been overwhelming and nothing but positive, that people are ready for this. They want to start organizing now. We have volunteers for state coordinators and county coordinators all over the country who we're going to be meeting with on this next tour. So I'm just really excited it's coming together like this, and as long as I'm in a position to do this, and there's no one, I don't claim to be the best person for the job by any stretch of the imagination, although I'm not running really to be in charge of anything. I'm running to be the last president of the United States, take the system apart, and basically walk in on the first day with a pile of executive orders to sign and appoint people to the various administrations to carry out very specific, pre-agreed upon procedures for how we dismantle this bureaucracy, how we transfer the physical custody of property to individuals or to the states. I should say to both. Some will go to states, some will go to individuals. And we get to write off the national debt. I mean, there's so many exciting benefits that come out of this. I mean, it's obvious, I suppose, why people are looking for someone to do this. I'm not the best person for the job, and then I'm happy to admit that, my relevant experience is not a qualifier for this. But you don't have to like me, you don't have to trust me even, because if we develop a consensus around this, it really won't matter who is president and who gets to sign the papers to bring about this change. So I plan to run until I win, or I can endorse someone better than me with a better platform and a better plan for making this happen. But this is the line in the sand now, and most Americans are ready to cross that line and say, yeah, we're better off without the federal government.
Yeah, that is one of the general feelings that people have. It's partially the appeal of the anti-candidate. You've seen it. As long as you're not a professional politician, people are listening to those people because they're so sick of it. And it reminds me of this scene from The Simpsons.
I don't really have very much experience, but I'll be someone else. Yay! Someone else.
Well, I might not be the most experienced. Someone else. We saw that with Ben Carson high in the polls, and they look at Trump. Who knows if it's Cruz? Who knows if it's someone else? And maybe there is no correct person for the job. Maybe there is no such thing. But I got to tell you, it's something that I considered. I said, wait a minute, I'm actually 35 years old now. This is the first election I could technically run for. Maybe this year's not my time, but I'm telling you, I was thinking about it too, and it's interesting. We'll follow it. We'll keep track of it. Are you really serious about this? I know it came out and you've been building toward it, but do you really want to go in that direction, Adam? Is this a done deal?
Serious as a heart attack, as long as things keep building this way.
Nice.
Keep building.
Well, hey, Adam, give out the best ways to follow you on social media, the best way to pick up your book, if there's any upcoming events you want them to check out, and we'll go from there.
It's all at thefreedomline.com. That's it, thefreedomline.com.
Excellent. Adam, Thank you so much for your time, sir. And we will do this again down the road. Thank Macy for me for organizing and lining this thing up. And we will keep in touch as you do this Arizona off-the-grid thing and build toward 2020. You and Kanye, head-to-head, finally. Kokesh versus Kanye. I can see the T-shirts now. All right, Adam, we'll talk again soon. You have a great day, sir. And for everybody out there in the TNAM radio network, I want to thank you for checking out the show. I want to thank you for checking out the New American Media over the past almost 5 years. Just link up with us, thenewamericanmedia.com. On Twitter at American_media_. On Facebook, do a search for The New American Media. And go to youtube.com/The New American Media. Click subscribe. And leave some comments. We got a lot of stuff coming up. Some conventions we're going to be getting some footage from. A lot of new things coming your way. Not just politics, not just sports. We'll get into more of the esoteric and metaphysical and spiritual. We're going to get into some of the musical. We do a lot of things over here. Jack of all trades, if you will. Jacks of all trades. But yeah, check out Adam Kokesh. He's one of my favorite people in this, if you can call it a liberty movement. I've seen him in many different scenarios, many different panel discussions, the one-on-one fireside tour. He's an interesting man with interesting ideas, so be sure to check out the book Freedom and check out his site. So for everybody out there in the TNAM radio network, I just want to say I appreciate you. I love you. We'll talk again soon. Peace.
Hi, everybody. You're listening to Agree to Disagree with Brian Engelman, and this is John B. Wells reminding you that not only is Brian Engelman a cool guy, and not only is the newamericanmedia.com a very cool platform, but here's a cool idea for you, too. Are you alone? Not really. Do you like dogs? Do you like cats? You do. Of course you do. Everybody does. One or the other, maybe even both. You know, there are a lot of dogs and cats that are at shelters right now, and if somebody doesn't take them home, they're going to wind up euthanized. That's a nice way of saying they're going to be killed because there's simply not enough room. I guarantee it, the best dogs and the best cats, the best pets come from shelters. There's something about dogs and cats. They know. They know where they are. You walk through one of them, and certainly at least one is going to look at you and go, I wish you'd take me home. I'm in hell. Please take me out of here. It'll be the best thing that you ever did for your soul. You'll feel good about it. And not only that, but you have a friend for life. Doesn't matter if you got money, you don't have money. Well, it doesn't make any difference to a dog or cat. All they need is the sound of your voice and maybe even the stroke of your hand, and they're fine. Maybe a little food every once in a while. The sweetest sound that those pets ever hear is your voice. Think it over and adopt a cat or a dog from a local shelter today. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did.